Here is a good reason why the Democratic Party needs better leadership, younger spokespeople, and people that simply think fast on their feet. Because what occurred this morning on CNN, State of the Union, was pathetic on the part of the Democrats, even though they should be carrying a winning hand with a bill that's going to terrorize the American citizen. I want you to listen to how Senator Katie Britt handled the question about, wait a minute, why don't you just tax the wealthy and keep those tax cuts for the middle class, which is something that makes a lot of sense. Keep the tax cuts that Trump gave for the middle class, but get rid of it for the rich, which got most of it anyway, and would do a lot as far as making the bill better and not having to cut Medicaid and all these issues. Listen to how Katie handled that question.
One thing that I don't know what happened to it was there was a time when President Trump and his supporters like Steve Bannon were talking about maybe keeping the tax cuts for everybody except for people who are rich. And by rich, I mean making more than $1 million a year. Here's what Trump and Bannon had to say about it.
I actually think it's good politics to do it where richer people give up, and it's a very small, it's like a point, but they give it up to benefit people who are lower income.
The current system we have is not sustainable. It's just not. We're kidding ourselves. You have to go to an alternative. I think the alternative is budget cuts, and it has to be tax increases on the wealthy.
Whatever happened to that idea? Not that I'm here to give tips to you, but that would make this bill more popular.
Well, I think that...
And also more financially responsible.
Well, if you look at back over the last several years, obviously Democrats have had two bites at the apple when it comes to reconciliation, and at neither time did they touch that. It's because they understand that when you're looking for job growth and you're looking to actually build the economy, they know that the TCJA worked. And so us being able to continue to make sure that we're creating opportunity for Americans coast to coast, the numbers showed themselves that the economy began moving. The numbers that we had seen previously from OMB were put to shame. And President Trump's previous TCJA actually made significant strides in that direction as far as moving the economy coast to coast. And if that had not been the case, then you know that Democrats and their two bites at the apple with regards to reconciliation would have taken care of that.
All right. What she said, of course, made no sense because Donald Trump's tax cuts did not really, it's a myth that his tax cuts paid for themselves. It's a myth that the tax cut substantially made any difference from the trajectory that Obama gave to Donald Trump's economy, because Donald Trump's economy was simply on the same trajectory that Obama gave to him. So that the statement that somehow his tax cuts made things better, I would wager and say if that tax cut instead went to programs for the working class, because they would immediately spend that money, the economic activity would have been larger. But instead of making this kind of argument, I want you to listen to how Warner handled that question as far as why, if you believe that you should drop the taxes, why didn't the Democrats do it when they had the opportunity to do it? Check this out.
Two questions on that. But the first one is the White House says that because of the extension of the Trump tax cuts in this legislation, there will be an increase in the take-home pay of a typical Virginia family anywhere between $8,000 and $14,000 a year. Won't that be good for the citizens of your state?
What I can show you other data that shows if you're at minimum wage, you will see your costs go up about 53% based upon not only the healthcare cost cuts, but also the earned income tax credit, the EITC, make it much more difficult for folks. I think the overwhelming amount of data shows that on this one, this is tax cuts for the wealthiest to end up cutting healthcare. Plain and simple. You can put any lipstick you want on this pig, but it's still pig.
So I just asked Senator Britt about whatever happened to Trump and Bannon and others talking about letting the tax cuts on those who make more than $1 million a year expire. And she said, you probably heard her, Democrats had two bites of the apple to get rid of that. They didn't touch it. And that combined with the fact that somehow Trump is the one who came up with no tax on tips, which you would think that would be something that Democrats would have come up with. But no, Donald Trump's about to sign no tax on tips into the law, not the Democratic Party.
Well, Jake, you know what? My good friend Katie Britt and a lot of my other Republican friends are going to have a chance tonight to actually vote on whether we should let the tax cuts expire on the wealthiest of Americans. And could we take that money and put it back into not doing these?
But why didn't Democrats do it when you had the chance?
Well, we probably should have, but there was never a full-on assault. At this point, what has happened is you've got these tax cuts out there to kick 16 million Americans off of health insurance. Democrats would have never proposed that. And beyond the little hundreds of thousands in my state, millions across the country on food assistance.
Yeah.
And again, this is not I got no problem with people who do well being rewarded well, but this goes against any American's basic sense of fairness.
Why Warner didn't go after tax on tips and really pointed out that it's nothing more than a gimmick, because people who are the ones who get a lot of tips in as workers, as food deliverers, etc., they don't pay any taxes on their tips anyway. Why? Because they don't make enough, because the standard deduction takes care of it. So the people who really benefit from tax on tips under Donald Trump would have been those rich people who can call anything tax, anything a tip. And if you can call anything a tip, then it means that those people who exceed the standard deduction are the only ones who would get to take advantage on the tax on tips. It looks very sellable, but when you expand it, it suddenly realizes that it's yet another tax break for people with better means. But again, we don't have people out there that are really fighting for the working class and telling the truth about the snow job Republicans are doing. And that's the problem with neoliberalism. We give the impression that we're out there, not we, I'm not a neoliberal, but the neoliberal Democrats, that's the problem. They give the impression that, yes, they're there for the working man. Yes, they're for the working woman. Yes, they're for the working people, which in general, progressives in the party are. Progressives in the party, even Biden, when confronted by the progressives, made likely the most progressive policies ever in a bill since FDR. But how did Warner answer that question? Well, yeah, maybe we should have done it after the fact. That opens the door to say the Democrats are full of it. They're not, but it opens the door for you to say that there are progressive Democrats out there that were ready to say, let's increase the taxes on the wealthy so that we can give the working class what they've earned, not what the wealthy has extracted from them, but what they've earned. Allow them to have what they've earned. But even with the argument, that discussion with Warner, what was Warner's answer? Oh, yeah, maybe we should have done it, but we didn't. No, he shouldn't. He should have said a much better answer would, we had too many neoliberals that prevented us from doing that. But do remember that the policies that Biden passed help the working class, help the middle class. And that is what the Republican bill, the big, ugly bill, is going to do today. He should have gotten, in as much as the neoliberals screwed up during the Biden administration, even as Biden had a great progressive bill that could have been better, meaning more paid for if we had taxed the wealthy, he should have said those things that we did right, they were cutting. And not ever go into the process of saying we should have done that. When Britt already said, we are right, because when the Democrats had two chances to take that, to get rid of those tax cuts for the wealthy, they didn't. That is the problem. That is the problem. And it's something Democrats better work on now. Listen to what progressives are doing. Listen to what progressives are promoting, because that is where not only the heart of the working class and the middle class is, that is how they will vote. And if any one of these guys believe that trying to be scared of what Mamdani did in New York, you have something coming. You better jump on the bandwagon.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.